Welcome to another episode of the Clyde Lomond Heritage Podcast. Myself, Paul Murdoch,
And myself, Robert Ryan.
and him.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to you about, Robert, a guy who I didn't really know anything about. This guy,
Yeah.
I've heard of the Wright brothers, okay, that asked you to do powered flight.
Yeah.
But there's a man who did quite a lot of work in the Cardiff area on early flight.
Yep. And it sounds like a made-up name, but it's not. His name was Percy Pilcher.
That's definitely it.
He was born in Bath in 1867, but he became an engineer, and through that, he ended up working in one of the shipyards in Glasgow, Randolph Elder and Company.
Right.
And I mean, you're right about the unknown factor. A lot of people have never heard of Percy Pilcher, where they've heard of a lot of the other pioneers in flight. I did a project at primary school in Helensburgh, and a project on flight, and the name wasn't even mentioned.
Never even came up.
Although Otto Lilienthal's name, a German guy who was a glider pioneer, his name was mentioned. So we're maybe uncovering a wee bit of local history here that people haven't heard of.
Yeah, that's good.
But in 1891, he began work after his stint in the shipyards. He began work as a lecturer at Glasgow University, and he took a really, really keen interest in aviation, which was in its infancy. I mean, really, it was at the stage of balloons, wasn't it? Hot air balloons, hydrogen balloons, that sort of thing. And the thing that, and this is the revelation, the first glider flight in the British Isles was here in Cabros, right? And it was on his glider, which flew for the first time at Cabros on September the 12th, 1895.
Wow. Now listen, I did a wee bit of research, and it's not a lot. But, and it seemed to me that the location of that might have been, you come down the Carman Road and there's the entrance to the seminary.
Aye.
And it's supposed to be opposite that.
That's right. Well, it's actually Wallistown and Auchenshale Farms.
Right.
There's a modest farmhouse at Auchenshale, and it's still there, but it's boarded up. It's not in use. But Low Auchenshale was the site from where Pilcher made that initial flight.
So if you just hold on to this contraption,
like a hang glider, you know, it's the best way to describe it. You had different models. The one that he used then was called the Bat, and he had different names for them, the Beetle and the Hawk and things like that.
And if you've ever seen the Batman movies, it's a bit like one that's like a contraption they would use.
Yes, it's the kind of thing that you do. But that initial flight, that first flight, it lasted 20 seconds at a height of 12 feet.
Okay, so 12 feet about
one's height.
I think his height, just about low on a lamppost or something.
Aye, yeah. And he did experiments in the land at Auchenshale and Wallistown. He did the flights there between 1893 and 1896. So, and when I was talking there about the project I did in primary school, we never heard of Percy Pilcher, but we did hear of a man called Otto Lilienthal, who was a German pioneer of gliding. And Pilcher met up with Lilienthal, and the two of them shared ideas. But I think it's fair to say that if the pair of those guys, if Lilienthal and Pilcher hadn't died when they did, both in glider accidents, they may even have beaten the Wright brothers to the title.
And literally 20 years later, the First World War was on us, and basically it was biplanes and stuff.
That's right.
By that time.
Yeah.
So there's a real rapid acceleration in technology between them and then.
Aye. So when you think about it, the real race beyond the glider was to get something which was heavier than air to carry a man into flight. Now that seemed difficult enough with a glider, but with an engine, there was other things to.
Now there'd been other attempts at flight before this.
Oh yeah,
and like I remember one. I mean, I visited Stirling Castle a while back, and I know there's a tale there of one. I don't know if he was a priest or he was a man anyway who put feathers on his arms, right, or some kind of contraption, and he jumped off the parapet at Stirling Castle, which is quite a drop, 100 foot down the trees.
Yes,
and he survived.
He
didn't die, but he broke his leg and his arm and all the rest of it. But it had been attempted.
Did he flap his wings?
He tried to. He was like, "Oh no, this isn't working," and then plummeted down.
When you think of the kind of very,
it was a bet.
Well, the very basic kind of thoughts amongst people at that time would have been, well, we're looking at birds and they flap their wings, so that seemed logical.
How can they do it and we can't?
Yeah,
as you say, if they died, so he died after he'd done some flights. He obviously one of them went wrong.
Well, Otto Lilienthal was killed in August the 10th, 1896, while flying one of his gliders in Berlin. And Pilcher then became the favourite to become the first person to have a powered aeroplane.
Right.
So he set to work on doing that. And by that time, he was back in England. But he built several prototypes, but the prototype he was working on in 1899 was a triplane. He'd got the right idea. See, three wings on each side. So, if you want to say it that way, and he had it all. Organized that he was going to demonstrate this particular aeroplane with an engine in it, 4 horsepower, and the date was 1899. Now, the thing about that was the weather wasn't that good on the day, and it wasn't going to be conducive to use the powered aircraft. So Pilcher made what turned out to be a fatal mistake. And he thought, I don't want to disappoint all these people. I'll give them a demonstration with one of my gliders.
Right.
And even though he'd flown this glider before, he'd never flown it in the rain. The water got into the joints on the wings. He was at a height of about 18 feet, and the glider just disintegrated, and he fell to his death.
You wouldn't think you could die dropping from 18 feet.
Well, it's not. It's yeah.
Suppose a height of a lamppost. You're doing a good speed.
Yeah.
Maybe hit a rock or something like that.
Well, it depends. It depends how the thing collapsed around him, what kind of position he was put in. Did he land head first or whatever? I don't really know.
I wonder if there's any
18 feet still quite a height to fall from.
I wonder if there's any photographs of that or
at
the time, because there was photography by that time.
Yeah. Well, it was in Market Halborough and in Leicestershire, and I had a look online and I couldn't find any photographs of it.
No.
But here's the interesting thing. Consequently, later in the 20th century, some scientists took Pilcher's ideas and they tried to emulate what his test flight might have been like, and also from that, what the modifications were that he might have made. So they were kind of doing it a wee bit, feeling their way, but they were confident enough that this would have been changes that Pilcher would have made. And they actually, it was in 2003, and it was in a BBC Two television series, You'll Know Horizon. It's one of these things. And it's likely, they concluded it was likely that he would have succeeded in the first heavier-than-air powered aircraft under control.
So they'd beat
the
Wright brothers.
Yeah, well,
engines.
1899. I think the Wright brothers were 1902 or 1903.
Yeah,
and they're confident that if Pilcher had done a test flight in that one, he would have made these modifications, and he would have been the man to win that race.
Is it Baron von Richthofen? Who was the
Red Baron?
The Red Baron. I remember
the bloody Red Baron
from my school days. All that kind of battles in the sky.
Yeah,
I'm sure he had a triplane.
A Fokker. Was that to be very careful how you say it? Yes,
I know.
It was a very dangerous Fokker plane, and it was coloured. It was red, and I mean, even the British, they had their sock with camels and things like that, and they were camouflage.
Yeah,
the Red Baron, bright red, and with the Iron Cross.
Pretty successful as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess in those days as well, they had to be careful how they shot from it as well, because the propellers and stuff. I don't know if they'd worked out the sequence of bullets and propellers.
It was still in its infancy, but it shows you how things had developed in the years since the Wright brothers. I'll tell you another interesting thing about Pilcher's his prototype that he was going to fly that day, and when fate intervened, the Wright brothers, their conditions required a 25-mile-an-hour wind, to assist the flight of the airplane.
So a tailwind in a way.
Yes, a tailwind, and that didn't apply to Pilcher's plane. They reckon it was probably a better design. But as with all these things, all these inventions and pioneers, they make the prototype, and then that opens up the floodgates for people to improve it.
Isn't it interesting that you get people like Henry Bell, who was one of the first to do this paddle steamer?
That's right.
You get Percy Pilcher, the guy who was one of the first to develop an aeroplane.
Within Helensburgh and Cabras. And then just over that hill, you had the Argyll Motor Works.
Yeah.
Which was the first car factory. Was it the first car factory in Britain? I think it probably was at that scale.
It's in such a small area, we've got such a lot of pioneers.
That's right. Well, Pilcher, it's worth mentioning that
Logie Baird, of course.
Of course. We're almost mentioning him as an afterthought, but we were on the kind of subject of transport there. And the thing is about Pilcher, and it definitely should be mentioned, that his sister helped him a lot. She helped not only in the building of the glider, but because she was lighter, she took some of the test flights. And also there's sister.
Was she killed as well in the flight?
No, well, not that I know of. No, I don't think so. It was his sister. She was called Ella, and they had this cousin who was Dorothy, and she also took part in some of the test flights as well. And I'm guessing that it's because they were lighter.
Ballast? Yeah. No, they want all maybe
the opposite of ballast.
A ballast want somebody light.
They want somebody light, and I
wouldn't be any good for the test at all.
Well, me neither. But it's worth mentioning, and in a modern context, we think that women have just broken through into so many fields. But here were women that were right at the start of something in the aviation field.
Yeah, and probably the first women to fly.
Yes,
possibly.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so, because one of the important things, Paul, it's not just the actual flight. That first flight was very important, but its repetition is one of the very important things in invention, showing that something wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
Showing that something could be done under different conditions.
Got off really in it.
Well, I suppose.
In fact, could you do the same show?
But that's why, when I was saying that the flights at Cabras were between 1893 and 1896.
Yeah.
Why did he make so many flights? Because he had the Bat, he had the Beetle, he had the Hawk. These were all different designs, and he successfully flew all of them. So that then, repetition then says, look, this works. It's not, well, this worked on that one day when the wind was at my back and other things happened.
And I'm wondering, obviously, Kilmahue Estate had been the go at the time, or for a long time before that as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if Captain Burns knew them, or knew of them.
Oh, I would think so.
I mean, he gave the ground for the golf course.
Yes.
And gave the fountain to Eden Grove. Yeah. I mean, these people must have known each other, I thought.
You would think so.
It's a big deal, isn't it?
I mean, Pilcher, I don't know how the gliders were transported. I would imagine that they would be transported in parts.
Yeah.
They actually lived in Byers Road in Glasgow, Pilcher and his sister.
Right.
And that was where they made the gliders. So you would imagine they had some method of transport of getting them down here.
Yeah, but carriage probably. Well, not
carriage,
train.
I was thinking maybe train. But then from the station at Carters up onto the hills, I mean, logistically, it was a pretty difficult thing to be doing. But Carters, it must have been something. His mother was Scottish, and I'm just wondering if it was her that maybe suggested to him a bit of land.
I mean, there's places with hills in between here and the Byers Road, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got, places like, I don't know, Kilpatrick,
yeah.
So I wonder why he picked. Maybe it's just a gentle slope and wanted a certain kind of slope.
That's right. You would imagine that would be the case. Now, the thing is, just one thing to say before we leave this subject is that if people want to see one of Pilcher's planes in the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, they've now got it. He's now been given his proper place in the history of aviation, and it's in its full glory there, hanging from the ceiling. So,
all right,
yeah.
So get off and see that to Edinburgh if you can. And thanks for tuning into this wee episode.
Thank you.
Until next time, bye for now.
Bye. Cheers.